We are interrupting your watching of Wheel of Fortune to bring you more hockey talk. As the Sharks prepare to start training camp, the rookies get their feet wet in Vegas, the women get drafted, and Babcock, what the hell are you doing? All that and more right now here on Summer Shark Bytes on Teal Town, USA. And we bid you a pleasant good evening, everyone. It is Monday, September 18th, 2023. The ice is being laid. The rookies are just coming back from Vegas. And the guys are all back in town, which means we are so close to hockey. So welcome to Summer Shark Bytes here on Teal Town, USA. This is live interactive, so if you chat with us and your fellow hockey fans on the page or the app, and of course follow us on the social, whatever they may be, even if Elon wants to start charging up the yin-yang for whatever the hell it's called, Twitter, X, you name it, we'll be here. And join us, as always, at tealtownusa.com. If you want to support the podcast, of course, reach us out on Venmo at tealtownusa. And with that, I say hello to Mr. Ian Reed. How are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am ready for hockey.
Me too.
Even though my Niners are starting out 2-0, my Giants have fallen apart, I am ready to go. So it's been an interesting week.
Yeah.
It's been quite an interesting week in the world of hockey, especially the center of the hockey universe, Columbus, Ohio. This whole thing started out with a little tease from the Spit and Chicklets podcast where, Paul Bissonnette, goes and explains that, Mike Babcock, the one-time coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, we'll get to that shortly, asked
undefeated coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. I just want to point that out.
The third winningest coach in Columbus Blue Jackets history, I think, or something like that. Top 10 all-time in records in Columbus Blue Jackets history. Oh, boy. And you wonder why we get pissed about Vegas winning it all the time. Yeah, okay. But, basically, getting back to this, Biz Nasty on, last Tuesday, goes on and says that, some players, including Blue Jackets captain Boone Jenner, are asked to share their camera roll on their iPhone, before displaying these photos on a wall in a coach's office. To quote, Biz Nasty on it, it said on the episode was released, enough with putting guys on the spot in the coach's room asking to link their phones up to airplane mode and grilling them. I've had a ton of players confirm it. This is just crazy, and it's interesting to have the NHLPA come out to Columbus, which, really hasn't done much. But then today or late yesterday, of course.
It was yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, do it during a football game that, Mike Babcock decides to resign as Blue Jackets head coach. He has a quote that comes out that says, upon reflection, it has become clear that continuing as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets was going to be too much of a distraction. While I'm disappointed to not have the opportunity to continue the work we've begun, I know it's in the best interest of the organization for me to step away at this time. I wish everyone in the organization well in the upcoming season. Ian, I'll throw this to you, but this is concerning, but we're not surprised considering what Babcock's done in the past.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts about this, and it's hard to figure out where to start. I think
right.
one of the things, obviously it was an interesting chain of events, right? Like I don't listen to spitting chicklets at all. And if you do, that's fine. Like I'm not here to judge or anything. It's not something that I regularly consume. So a lot of this, I kind of picked up like secondhand from like 32 Thoughts or just basically scrolling Twitter or whatever. And it's an interesting situation because I think that sports have to kind of catch up to everything else in the world, because I know there's going to be people that be like, oh, this isn't a big deal. Boone Jenner didn't have a problem with it. And, and Johnny Gaudreau didn't have trouble with this. So what's, it's these whiny players. But I think it's getting to the point now where people like, it's just because something was acceptable at one point in time doesn't mean like it's 2023. The world has changed. And whether the world is too soft for you now or whatever, I mean, that's for you to have your opinion. But like it or not, the world has changed. And I think that it's gotten to the point now where it doesn't matter if you're a coach or, a guy who oversees an office, right? Like there's just certain things that you just can't do anymore. Now, do I think that Babcock, like, I don't think like Babcock was trying to be malicious here, right? Like, I don't think he intended to make people feel uncomfortable. I don't think this is some voodoo mind game he was playing with the younger players, right? I think it was something that I think he probably has done 100 times, but again, the world has changed. And if you shouldn't do something in an office, in a standard office job or a retail job or whatever, I think that you probably shouldn't do it in sports either. That's just the reality of the situation now. And I think the sports is kind of catching up to that now, where just because it happens in a locker room doesn't mean it's okay. Oh, well, sports, who cares? That's not happening anymore. Like, and not just like, not to go completely off topic, but I think that's why you're seeing things like, again, like hazing right. Incidents, stuff like that kind of coming to light now. And it's getting to the point, like, these are billion-dollar businesses, man. Like, it's sports just isn't an excuse anymore. So I don't think Babcock was trying to be malicious here. I don't think he was trying to make people, I think he genuinely, was genuinely trying to, try and get to know players and had a specific way of doing it. Is it weird? 100%. Like, I would be uncomfortable if he just took my phone and started going through my camera roll. Not that I have anything in there that would be remotely interesting. I mean, you could see him trips on my East Coast trip. That'd be pretty cool. But I could tell you about that. Like, you could ask me about that, and I would happily show you photos of that, right? But just to go through, but just have someone kind of go through my phone and just, be whatever. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you have on your phone. Maybe you have something there that you don't want to see, right? Like, these are young dudes that, like, I would be a little concerned, but for some of them, probably the shit that might be in their camera rolls, that they might be uncomfortable sharing with their coach. So, there's a certain level of privacy I think that players obviously want to expect. And it doesn't matter if, like, a lot of people be like, oh, well, Boone Jenner didn't care, Johnny Gaudreau didn't care, so these young guys, they should fall in line. But I
they're
disagree,
safe,
man.
though.
If they're, it's not even the fact that they're safe, right? But I mean, they've been around longer, and maybe they're more used to some of the dumb shit, even though these guys are, Boone Jenner and Johnny Gaudreau aren't exactly, old by any stretch of the imagination. But I think that, but they've been around longer. They've seen more shit. But I think if it's something that makes even one player uncomfortable, then it's probably not acceptable. I think it's really unfortunate for the Blue Jackets, though, because I think this is a team look. I think there's a lot of good vibes around the Columbus Blue Jackets right now, right? Like, they got Johnny Gaudreau last year, and they have to, and so they're trying to change things there. They're trying to change things for the better, trying to make things, more positive. Adam Fantilli turned pro, like, right away, basically got drafted, signed his contract, turned pro right away, didn't go back to Michigan. Like, I think it's unfortunate for them because they're obviously, like, before all this stuff came out, I mean, the vibes around the Blue Jackets are pretty good, right? Like, right. I have questions about how this team's going to be in net. Like I think their goaltending's a little suspect, and the Metro's an absolute gong show. Like I think
Right?
the Metro's probably the toughest, in my opinion, anyway. Man, we can disagree. The toughest division in the NHL. So to try and get things positive there, it sucks. I think there's a lot of good vibes over the summer, and I know some people aren't aren't Babcock guys, and they weren't here for the redemption tour, and I accept that. And I'm not trying to say that those people are wrong, but I think it's unfortunate because I think going into the season, like the vibes around the Blue Jackets was kind of good before this came out.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're like, oh man, Adam Fantilli, are you sure you wanted to turn pro? I mean, the money's
Well,
great.
yeah.
But like, you know what I mean, to come out now, and it's like, and you have to do this situation now where Mike Babcock is obviously not going to be the coach, so they have to basically promote the assistants. But I mean, like, you're in the beginning of the season now. An NHL job is an NHL job, so I'm sure you could probably, like, if they wanted to kind of do a search and find a guy, they could probably find one. I think that there would be people who would obviously give up a lot to be a coach of an NHL team. But I mean, it starts them on the wrong foot, right? Because like, obviously if you're a high profile coach, then you've probably already been hired, or you're probably already, getting ready to start a season with an AHL team or whatever team you would normally hire from. And you've already kind of started there. So it's like, it's an NHL job. So I think that most people would understand if you went to somebody and said, hey, do you want to coach my NHL team? Even though I know you're for junior team, for a junior team, you're already in the preseason, like you already started things. So I think it's really unfortunate for the Blue Jackets, because I think going before this came up, man, good vibes in Columbus.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of things to be excited about on that team. But that this kind of starts them on the wrong foot. And I hope for them, like I would love to see Columbus kind of have like do what Florida did, like everyone kind of just counts them dead at the beginning of the season because of all the stuff that happened over there. Kind of similar situation, Coach Quenneville, whatever. Right. And I'd love to see them kind of, have that kind of a situation where, they can kind of turn this into a positive. Because I think the people in Columbus, like the Jackets fans, like they deserve better.
Absolutely.
And if I was the owner, I know the owner put out a statement today, saying that, basically, everything, we're just kind of leaving everything status quo. And I kind of get it, again, because again, the vibes were good. And I think if you completely go in and just like, personally, I would probably be, at least Davidson would definitely be, I would definitely have eyes on him, but like, I would have like a dagger in the wall with a picture of Jarmo Kekalainen on it at this point. Like, I think if
Big time.
the Jackets, like, maybe they don't want to just be like, oh, well, now we don't have a coach and now we don't have a front office either, right? Like, I understand you don't want to completely go scorched earth, but man, and this is why I don't own a team, and this is why I'm not in charge of anything. But man, I would have gone scorched earth after this, because it's like, if you're the owner of the Columbus Blue Jackets, like, how embarrassed are you right now?
Oh, it's an absolute nightmare, because you waited this long to get Babcock. You couldn't announce him until July,
and then you knew Babcock had baggage, so like it wasn't like oh, this thing happened and now we have to fire everybody, right? Like, it wasn't like I alluded to Quenneville earlier, and obviously like we knew there was stuff there, but we didn't really know the details. But like Babcock, you knew the baggage coming in,
exactly.
And the fact that you don't even start the season with him because things got screwed up, like, man, like, if the Blue Jackets stumble out of the gate, I don't know of how much longer Jarmo Kekalainen is for this world as the GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, it's not looking good there. And granted, you have to have some type of front office in Columbus. I wouldn't be surprised if they get through the year, or if they start looking now and then eventually make a change.
Yeah,
but I would think that you do not want to go into training camp with, well, they did name a head coach, but I mean, to have a management staff,
Like, you
not
remember
there.
the commercial with like the bread, and then like at the end of the commercial, like they're like, that would be like the Columbus Blue Jackets, where it's like, I don't remember what the commercial was for, but it was for like sliced bread or something. And then by the end, like there's a woman riding on an ostrich through the office. Like that's how I picture the Columbus Blue Jackets front office right now.
Yeah,
I don't remember what the commercial was for.
You look it up, because I think I remember what you're talking about.
Something
But
about sliced bread, and all I remember is the woman riding an ostrich through, and like everything's on fire, and that's what I think of the Columbus Blue Jackets right now. Like,
and
so I can understand why they didn't just like completely just throw gasoline all over it and be like, see you later, Kekalainen, and see you later, Travis. And I think, don't get me wrong, like I think that those guys deserve a lot of heat, and I'm sure they're getting a lot of heat from outlets much bigger than ours. But I also understand why they didn't just completely throw gasoline on it and, see what was left standing.
Right. It's going to be an interesting year to see what happens there, and if they can persevere, that'd be probably one of the best feel good moments in the league on that. But you knew what you were getting into, Columbus. You knew everything. You heard about what happened with Johan Franzen, how Babcock's ego gets in the way of letting Mike Madonna playing his 1500th game, his last game as an NHLer. You saw the thing with Mitch Marner and his teammates, and Denver Doyle even saying, I think Babcock was using the photos to use at a later time.
I think that, maybe there could be something more sinister here. I think, Ruben bringing up a good point in the chat. Like, I'm surprised that, like, like you're coming back into the league, why weren't you why wouldn't you be like, hey, assistant coach, what do you think about doing this? Right. Or bringing it to somebody's attention, like being like, hey, I thought I might do this. Right. Again, I don't know Mike Babcock, so I don't want to sit here and tell you that, like, that he was, this was going to be some master diabolical scheme. Right. I don't know Mike Babcock, so I've never dealt with Mike Babcock. I don't know. I like, maybe this is the soft Ian. Like, I like to try and see the good in people.
Right. Agreed.
You know what I mean? So I don't, just me personally, I don't just, my first instinct is never to go to what is the worst possible thing this could be. Right. That's just not the way my brain's wired.
Yeah, it's the tough part of it, and they said I was listening to Dangle's podcast today. They broke out the introductory press conference, and it's like, well, we spoke to Ken Hitchcock, we spoke to a couple other coaches. He feels pretty good. It's like, well, what about the players? Since you've heard the backlash since he's been out of the game for over 3.5 years. Yeah, it's something that's a. We hate to say he told you so, but freaking told you so.
Yeah, I mean, and like, again, I don't personally listen to Spitting Chicklets, but I think, a lot of people, because I know a lot of people went after Biz pretty hard when this news came out. And I think a lot of people probably owe Biz an apology, And you know what? And I'll say credit to like TNT and stuff, because like they had his back the whole time. Right. Like they to their credit, they had his back the whole time. So I think, credit to them for sticking by their guy like that. And it's, like I said, it's super unfortunate, because I think, before this happened, I thought the vibes going around the Jackets, there's a lot of pretty good vibes, man. Like, yeah, Fantilli absolutely fall into your lap. He immediately turns pro. I think their forward group is going to be a lot of fun. I'm concerned about their goaltending, but and again, absolute death division, in my opinion. There's like 6 teams there that I think are easily, should be in the playoff mix of, and we all know how many teams make it. So
right. In the East overall, everybody, pumped up at the trade deadline last year.
Yeah.
Who knows what's next for all those teams. It's going to be fun. And that's the beauty of hockey. It's going to be fun. So,
yeah, I can't believe how fast it snuck up on me. Like, I was thinking, oh yeah, rookie face off, whatever, and then I'm like, oh my god, like preseason starts next weekend. Like
preseason starts Sunday.
Sunday preseason games. Like it kind of this season really kind of snuck up on me quicker than it did, because I was like looking at the thing and I'm like looking to see if like my schedule, like what my schedule looks like, so I can start like signing up for After Darks. And I was like, oh my god, like that's the next schedule. I don't have that yet, but yeah. So I mean, it's just like it's right there.
It's right there.
It's right back into it, and I mean, I'm ready, but like normally I think like we've gone a lot harder going into the season.
No, don't worry.
But I think it's gonna be fine. Like I think once the content, like I think now the content's kind of starting to get into full swing. So
right.
We will go. Usually at this point, like I'm cramming, trying to like figure out how many TTGs I can still fit in before Pucknologist starts and I lose Jerk and all of those things. And like this, so it's nice that this summer, like it's the end of the summer, I'm not trying to like, I wanted to do this on TTG and I must get these shows in, and I'm glad I don't have to try and drag people on to do them. So.
Hey, it's what we do. It's what we're back and we're ready to roll. And Jerky needs you, by the way. So. And I think, and Ruben saying this, and we'll finish it off here, why they trust Biz Nasty so much, and for that matter, Mike Commodore, who was very vocal about it. Spitting Chicklets is a pro player podcast, has been since day 100%. One, and that's why so many players in the league trust them, and maybe that's why. Yeah, I just
don't like the outlet that Spitting Chicklets comes from.
Yeah, that's the tough part,
right? Yeah. So like, I won't support that outlet. And again, look at. And I don't want this to be a thing. I know someone's going to come in my mentions on there and be like, oh my God, you're so soft. You're so woke. No, man, like if Spitting Chicklets is your jam, great. I'm not telling you what to do by any stretch. If that's your jam, then fantastic. I don't like that outlet and I won't support it.
Yeah. So let's move on to a brighter story. And really quickly into it, the Professional Women's Hockey League held their draft today at the CBC Studios in Toronto. And for those not familiar, the Mark Walter Group, kind of led by, pioneer Billie Jean King, bought out the PHF, the Women's Professional League that was still standing in all of its teams. You had 90 players selected today, along with each team having like 3 free agents prior. For instance, former Sharp broadcaster Kendall Coyne Schofield will be playing in Minnesota. Canadian gold medal legend Marie-Philippe Poulin is in Montreal. Sarah Nurse to Toronto. And in the draft, you saw the likes of Natalie Spooner going to Toronto, which is like almost a Canadian team reunion. You also have Hillary Knight going from the U.S. national team. She'll be playing for the Boston franchise. They'll be playing in January. I think they said they're going to have training camps open in November. I was hoping for team names and logos today because I'm the logo geek. But Boston, Minnesota, New York, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa. I'm down with that. I hope it gets a lot of promotion for it because I think they're at a point where some of these players are pretty good enough to get this off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it does well. I always want it to do well. It's not my thing. I you know what? Like maybe when the playoffs happen, like I kind of scoop over. I've always been like I always love like the women's games, like in the Olympics or the World Championships and stuff like that. Like that's generally when I tune into the women's game. There's a lot of hockey over the course of the year, right? Like it's a lot, dude.
Yes.
I mean, I hope it does well. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to pretend here. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm going to, be tuning in and picking a team and tuning in every game for that team. But obviously, because again, the Sharks, Barracuda, like we do a lot. But obviously, like I want it to do well. I think that a good, healthy women's league is a good thing, right? It's not only a good thing for the game itself, but obviously, it inspires other people to follow in those footsteps. And I think that if you look back at the late, you look back at the groundwork that has been laid in that regard, I think, going back to the Olympics, and I think the Olympics was the big one that really, once women's hockey kind of hit the Olympics. And I think, that laid the groundwork for kind of all of this. And I hope it does well. I really do. I mean, like I said, is it something that I'm going to tune into religiously? No, that's just me being honest, but I hope it does well.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a good thing. We'll see what they have for a TV deal and all that stuff. So be on the lookout for that. We'll go to college really quick as two of the Bay Area college squads get going, San Jose State and UC Berkeley. In fact, let's see, if you're watching us live right now, Cal plays in about 20 minutes in Oakland. So if you're headed in that area, go check it out. They'll be taking on Eastern Washington University, or as I like to call them, ELU. Cal beat Eastern Washington 3-1 on Sunday, and then they'll have an alumni game this weekend, then take on San Jose State the following weekend. San Jose State took down Eastern Washington earlier in the weekend with a 6-4 and 5-2 victory. The Spartans head to Loyola Marymount this weekend. Got to give love to the college hockey. The place was packing during the postponed seasons, so it's good to see those two thriving in their respective schedules. Now, Go teams. Now to get to the nitty gritty, that is our beloved San Jose Sharks. They went to Vegas. Well, let's be honest, Summerlin and Henderson for the rookie tournament this year. Decent results. They went 2-1, beat LA 4-3 in a shootout, destroyed Vegas 5-1, and then a penalty-filled affair earlier Monday, losing to the Coyotes 5-3. Love to hear some of your thoughts on what transpired over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun, right? Like these things are always fun to watch. You know what's amazing about these things is that you have like they just play, right? There's no commercials, there's no it's such an easily digestible thing to watch, because like other than like taking a minute to like scrape the ice in the middle of like each period, you basically get like a really, really quick just burst of hockey. And I think there's something to be said for that. It's really fun to watch. I thought the Sharks kids did really well in this weekend. Yeah, the game today they lost, and that kind of sucked. It wasn't a super fun game. I mean, it was, obviously you're going to get like a different look. They're obviously you're going to have like some guys they don't have enough to show, right? Like I think Eklund played one game. Mm-hmm. Like Eklund has nothing to show at these things anymore, right? Like it's nice to get him, a game of action, but that's not the reason. Like he's not there to just get in all those games. He's there to get a game in and then, get ready for basically training camp. But I thought, like the sad thing is, of course, I think is you see some of these guys and obviously like they're not doing anything with the Sharks or the Barracuda this year. They're going back to their junior teams, or in most cases they're going back to their junior teams. Obviously the college players can't be there because they're already playing for their schools. So but yeah, no, like there was definitely Thomas Bordeleau had a really good showing, I think, and that's the guy who a lot of people are obviously have some questions about going into this season. I think, a lot of people have concerns about how Thomas Bordeleau kind of finished last year. And I would count myself among those. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks as the competition ramps up. Obviously, I think like Thomas Bordeleau, again, is another guy who should do well in these situations because he's had that experience of playing the pro game. But I thought, there's a couple of guys that I really liked. I'm trying to think here, who I really liked. Kasper Halttunen.
Yep.
I thought he had a really good showing. I think if he can figure out his shot, I think if you give him a little more accurate shot, I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Quentin Musty, another guy that I think was, definitely came as advertised. Yep. I thought he looked really good.
Had his first goal today against Desert Dogs.
Yeah, and then like a couple of guys that I think are going to be like, guys that are definitely like Barracuda guys. Like I like Bradley Merrick's game. I thought he like I don't expect like super big things from him on the Barracuda, but I thought he was pretty noticeable in a lot of good ways. Artem Guriev, I think showed his nastiness. He is a nasty. Like this is a guy who I think will grow on me as the season goes on, but he is a player I don't really like very much because I think he's nasty and I think he's nasty in all the wrong ways.
Oh.
And I think he kind of showed, some of his nastiness. I think Barracuda fans will love him. I've seen him do a lot of dirty shit in junior.
The end of the game against Vegas was something else. He lines up somebody at the end of the game, and
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta be careful with that, dude.
Yeah, he definitely he plays on an edge, and sometimes I think he crosses that edge a little bit. But I think Barracuda fans are probably gonna like him because I think he's gonna beat up a lot of people. he's gonna hit, like, the dude hits like a truck. But yeah, there's a nastiness in his game that I don't particularly care for, but I feel like he'll probably grow on me as, he's the guy that you like on your team, but not when you play him. Gannon LaRock, I think after having, he's had his injury problems, a lot of talk about those injury problems that he's faced. I thought he looked really good. And it'll be interesting to see because of the way his games went, because he missed so many games because of injury. I think he does have some junior eligibility left, so I'm not sure where he is going to end up, if they're going to have to send him back to Victoria or not. Because again, the situation here is like, unless they can get an exemption like they did for Shane Wright, basically, I think he has to go back to junior unless he's on the Sharks. And I don't see him making the Sharks blue line as good as he looked in this tournament. Like I don't see a path for Gannon LaRock, first year pro, making the Sharks out of camp, and that's not a bad thing, right?
No, yeah, I think he's kind of in that middle spot. Like,
yeah,
you really shouldn't be in Victoria. You could be,
but
in
I don't know if they'll let him go to the Barracuda, right? Like it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. And I'm not sure. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he can just go, but I'd have to check with Nick on that. And you know what? I thought the goaltending was fine. Georgi Romanov's a guy who I don't really have a lot of excitement for. And I thought the game he played, I thought he settled into it by the end. And I think he made some huge saves to keep the team, obviously to keep the game tied. And then they were able to win it in the shootout.
Right.
So he's an interesting guy. Again, like there's the Barracuda net is so crowded this year because you have
Magnus Krona.
Krona, who I think Krona, if I had to guess, we'll see as things goes on. To me, I think it's gonna be Magnus Krona and Mäkiniemi doing the bulk of the work in goal. Mm-hmm. But then you also have Georgi Romanov, and then you also have what's the other guy?
Mason Beaupitt?
No, Beaupitt will go back to junior.
Okay.
Beckworm, I think is his name. Beckworm something.
Why don't I thought I had the roster on me. I had the rookie one on me. My bad for you, not holding my weight up a little bit here. But yeah, I think I really like.
Yeah, Beckworm.
I really liked Gannon LaRock. By the way, a little awkward to see 28 already being used. But also, I know we got to move on.
But I think you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it just shows how high the Sharks are on. Because like a lot of the Sharks, like for those that don't know, the Sharks that do this weird thing where like your number on the Barracuda is your number on the Sharks. That's why you have so many guys wearing like just silly numbers. But the fact that Gannon LaRock is a guy that they're just like, yeah, you can wear 28. Like I think that shows just how high the organization is on him.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've always talked about, LaRock. I think it was going to be, one that's been really, really loved. It's just going to be fun to see, and there's not necessarily going to be a competition in camp, but I would love for some of the kids to just wow
Yeah,
these guys to make it a little tougher to send them back down to where they need to go.
sure. Oh, and yeah, Romanov does need to work on his rebound control. That is something that I did want to mention, and I was trying to remember Beckworm's name. I feel bad for Beckworm. I'm sure he's a swell folk, but I always like he's the guy whose name continuously fails to come to my brain when I need it on these shows. But yeah, like I don't like. There's a lot of good. I thought there was a lot of good showings. Like I think that the results of the game are not like winning's nice, but like the results of the games don't really matter as much in these situations. Like I know as dumb as that probably sounds, but you're obviously looking for guys to be good. Yeah, Mukmadulin, I liked a lot.
Yeah.
In this tournament, it's not a tournament. It's just a showcase.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that.
I know. I always want to say tournament, but it's not a tournament. It's just a, you play 3 games and that's it.
Yeah, 3 games. We had the t-shirts ready to go if they had won today, but we digress.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Nope. Dang it.
But yeah, I'm really really we need the rocket baby. Yep. You already talked about his Dalton Prout jersey of the day. It's Malash on the back of this jersey, all right? Calm down. Jeez. But yeah, I'm excited to get to watch camp, albeit the first preseason game on Sunday against Vegas when we get destroyed by what's essentially probably half of Henderson. So it'll be fun to see how this goes around.
I'll give the Sharks credit though, because like at least they're gonna stream the preseason game.
Oh, thank God.
And it's like it's about time. Like there's just no other, like it's about time. And I understand, like, I understand for me and for you, like obviously this is a big deal. For some people, like preseason game, what are you whining about? But I just think that in this day and age where technology has come so far, like the fact that we couldn't watch a preseason game until now is kind of good. But I'm not that this isn't me dragging the Sharks. Like I think that the fact that they're going to stream these games is great, right? Because I think that this team, it's going to be interesting. Like if we look ahead to these preseason games and there are spots on this team where I'm not sure who is going to fit in them when all the dust settles, right? Like you look at a guy like, I think William Eklund's on this team to start the season, but is he? And before we wouldn't get to watch these games, right? So we'd have to speculate and base our thoughts on other people's thoughts that have actually, that are actually seeing things. If for those of us that can't, go to SAP and watch a preseason game or text you or whatever. And so you're kind of just trying to go by vibes based on, what does Pashelka think, whatever. I think it's nice that we're going to be able to go in and see these games and actually, sound smarter because we can actually see things with our own eyes when we're trying to like figure out who's going to be on the team. Because I think there's some fascinating camp battles.
Oh gosh, yeah.
This year, like I think there's going to be some fascinating camp battles. Like that blue line, I could think of like 6 different ways that could line up to start the season, and I think it's going to be fascinating because I think there's a lot of, obviously you have like a lot of veteran guys there, but you also have guys that I think are you got a lot of veteran guys there. Obviously, I think I question where Radim Šimić fits on this team still. But then you look at guys like Knizov and Thrun, right? Like guys that should definitely be interesting to watch in camp. And I'm curious to see like who the final 6 or 7, who's the healthy scratch guy.
Right.
I'm fascinated to see how that lines up. I think that's going to be, and then obviously in the forward group, like there's again a lot of regular faces, but I want to see where Eklund fits into this, into this mix, or, does Bordeleau force his way into an early season addition on the big club? Is there room? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the roster now. There's 20 defensemen they have coming to camp.
Sure, but I mean that's going to get trimmed in.
Oh, for sure. But I'm with you. Besides maybe Ferraro, obviously I would think you would have Vlasic on there.
Vlasic's on the team. Like, let's not be silly. Like, again, let's not be silly. Marco Vlasic is not getting cut in training camp and sent to the Barracuda. Like he's on the team. You know, like there's guys that are definitely going to be there. Ferraro's definitely going to be there. But it's it's the filling it out that's going to be interesting, because you have some veteran guys and you have some younger guys that I think should be there, but is there going to be room depending on, I think this is going to be a fascinating training camp, because we have some ideas on how Quinn runs things at this point now, obviously after a season, but I think if there's guys that aren't on this team, like I think some people are going to have their knives out for Quinn pretty early here. if a guy like Nikolai Knyzhov's not on the team to start the season.
Well, it'll go to show you as to how are you approaching the season.
Yeah.
Are you going for, the good boys, my boys are doing good, and all the kids, whatever, the kids, I need to keep my job, but I mean, you have Vlasic, Benning, Ferraro, I would think are the three that are probably your locks, I mean, and then after that, it's up in the air. You have Kyle Burrows, you have, Knyzhov, Jacob McDonald.
I think Jacob McDonald should be your 7, right? Yeah, I don't think Madulin. I think he's going to start the year on the Barracuda, and I think that's fine.
And Thrun, for that matter, which I thought played pretty solid. Plus Jan Ruda, who came in part of the.
That's what I mean. Like there's a lot of guys there with a lot of NHL games. And they have a lot of NHL games, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good. And I think
he played with Tampa. Come on. No.
I'm aware he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, but am I excited? Does Jan Ruda the reason I'm excited for the Sharks? No, it's not.
No,
that's just that's it. That's
it's
just
Kevin LeBanc. That's
I am
true.
sure. Again, I am sure Jan Ruda is a well human being, but it's not why I'm getting excited. I want to see who pushes their way onto the team. I want to see you want to see at least a glimpse of the future, because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but if you're looking for playoffs, you're watching the wrong team.
Oh, sad but true. Yeah. So looks like Blackwood Kakinen is the way to go for the Sharks this year.
God help us all.
Then you have Krona, Makiniemi, and Romanov,
and
Beckworm. Oh boy, that looks like the front runner for the jersey when they get the equipment.
It's weird. Like it's just that's the fascinating thing for me is like the goaltending, because obviously look, they do have the arrangement with Wichita, so I think that's going to be they'll probably use that as they did last year. Remember Parstras, man, just like constantly on the flight back and forth from Wichita. I think I'm curious, like again, because you have four guys that you have to find minutes for, so it's going to be interesting to see if how Beckworm fits into this, because I think if you look at the guys that the Sharks, in my opinion, that they seem to be the highest on, it's Makiniemi and Krona. But the Sharks have had such a terrible run of trying to find a goaltender that, having 4 options is going to be interesting. But again, I'm fascinated to see who they think, if I'm right, is it really Krona and Makiniemi are that they're the highest on? Like it'll be, I think once the Barracuda season starts, like I'm curious to see how the 4-headed monster rotation works.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Granted, we've seen it before last year with Dell, Makiniemi, Strass-Mann.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it right, and I think that, I think look, I Makiniemi, I still think is a player that they're incredibly high on. I feel like it's probably his net to lose at this point to start. But I'm curious to see how they go, because I think that, once Makiniemi got hurt, they kind of just rode Aaron Dell, to trying to make the playoffs, obviously. But I'm fascinated to see how John McCarthy, there's another thing,
boy.
going into talking about how we're going to see how, I'm curious to see what he's learned, right? Because I think that
Hopefully a lot.
am I a super fan of how John McCarthy ran things in year one? Not really, but again, like, this is where you cut your teeth as a coach, right? This is where you learn. So I do want to see what he's learned. I'm willing to see, like, to give him that. I know some people want to fire him out of cannon. That's fine. I get it. But I'm curious enough to see how he, what he's changed going into this season and how they look at things, because obviously you had like the Martin Coates stuff have come out, and that was weird. And there I wonder again, like, did something get lost in translation? It just seems so weird, right? But then also, you have to look at, like, all the vets kind of just ran away, and like Andre Gazzino under contract, I want out. Those are concerning things. So I'm fascinated to see what this Barracuda team looks like and how John McCarthy, let's see what he's learned over the summer. But I think I know it sucks because, like, we just talked about how fun this rookie face-off was, but like, I don't have super high hopes for the Barracuda. I hope they're fun. I think they have potential to be fun.
Right.
But I don't know if they're fun or fun good.
Well, that's what we were hoping for last year, is that the plethora of the
good,
kids,
they were kind of just okay.
And they were epic fail after starting 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, it was very uneven after they got going. So, but again, like, you want to see, with the Barracuda, you want to see guys take that extra step. You want to see guys like Brandon Coe take a step. You want to see a guy, another guy who I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about the rookie face-off, Tristan Robbins looked really good, I thought.
And got into a fight.
Yeah, he got into a fight, and I was like, what are you doing, Tristan Robbins? I don't need to see Tristan Robbins fight. Maybe, but no, like, so you want to see, like, Daniel Gushkin had that beautiful shootout goal.
Yeah.
So I'm, I think the Barracuda should be fun. I just hope they're fun good, man. We need just something to be good in this organization. Like, but there's a lot of, again, you had a pretty big turnover in the summer of veteran players. So I want to see which vets they bring in and how they ride some vets, and how, like, some of these guys that are playing, like Tristan Robbins, Brandon Coe, Gushkin, I want to see how they, how they get deployed this season. How much more responsibility are they going to get as the season progresses? There's a lot of interesting things, at least. Is it going to be good? I don't know, but there's a lot of interesting things that are going to storylines to follow with the Sharks and the Barracuda this year, and we'll talk about it here.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. Me and Ian will be doing at least 85 shows each this year.
Fuck.
Including 20 Barracuda After Darks, and maybe we'll sneak in a handful of PWHL After Darks.
Let's not.
I'm kidding.
Say anything like that.
No,
let's not set ourselves up for things. Because this is the one thing. Like this, like in previous years, I'm like, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and then none of it happens. I'm not promising anything this year. I'm just like, I'm gonna show up. That's what I'm promising.
Yep. We'll be here.
I just feel like there's been, like, times last year, like, I wanted to do more at TGG last year. Like, we had the shows with Nick, and I think we're gonna definitely do those again.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to get at some point. I'm gonna try and rope Kevin down, and we're gonna reach out to Nick to try and get a show, like, with him off the ground before the Barracuda season kind of gets into full swing. So I'll promise that, 'cause that will happen. But as far as, like, just, like, grandiose, like, what are we gonna do? It's it's the usual stuff. And then anything beyond that is gravy.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for it. We're hoping to do a little bit more, hoping to try to do a little bit more, but don't get your hopes up just yet, folks. So be on the lookout for that. We appreciate each and every one of you. So in case you missed anything, or you want to watch this game,
preseason After Dark? When is it? Sunday?
Sunday? You want to do a preseason After Dark? Maybe. I'll check in from the tank. In case you missed it, you can catch Teal Town USA everywhere. And if you want to hear it again, smash those likes.
Except on X, apparently, because he's going to make us pay for all of it.
Yeah. If anybody, wait, hang on. Let me pull this back up here. Hang on. Get us wherever you can find your podcast. Apple, Google, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, Odyssey. Always available at tealtownusa.com. Smash those like, sub, and bell buttons. So that way you are notified when we go on the air next. Okay, so yeah, let's get back to this here. So does anybody have a Blue Sky invite?
Right.
I heard Jack from Twitter starting that up. That'd be great to, get us going there. I mean, I was just trying to get on Threads.
You know what? I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna be completely blasphemous, and it's completely counterproductive to what we're doing.
Oh boy.
But like, so over the summer, like I cut a ton of my Twitter X, whatever the hell you want to call it, use. I don't really like.
Did.
I think, yeah, you know what? Just like, because I don't know, I cut it, man. And you know what? Like, I'm happy. Like, I'm a happier person. Like, I don't miss it. Like, I always think like, oh yeah, if because we got to promote the show or whatever. So if like something else took off, like, then we obviously have to do it, man. But like, honestly, Elon, thank you for fucking Twitter, because it's like, I'm so much happier now that I barely log into it. And that's what to say. Like, if you at me at Ian Blogs Hockey, I'm generally respond. I'm a polite, kind person. But like, I went through and I like kind of really set up my feed, so it's like only, like I said, I'm only ever on like the For You feed now instead of like the all feed. And oh my god, like, unless you're like a person who loves going on Twitter and like getting in the mud, if that's your thing, like, by all means, continue doing it. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. But like, for me, who doesn't really like to get in the mud and, like, just be perpetually online, I think it's been a godsend, and I recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, it's
to the ground.
It's just a bummer that it's going to come to that, but and Twitter really brought a lot of Sharks fans together. And
right, like, it's so like
it
I said,
sucks
it's
that
completely
it's just
antithetical to what we do to be like, yeah, man, just stop using it. It sucks.
Right.
Like, obviously, like, we want to be able to promote the show, and it's you want to kind of remain in the mix as far as like, oh, I wonder what Ian thinks about this game. And I'm sure, like, when Sharks games happen, I'm sure I'll tweet about it or whatever. But and then again, like I said, if you ever like have a question or you want to hit me up on Twitter, by all means do it. Again,
it'll still be there.
As long as you don't want to talk, as long as you're not trying to sell me your religion or tell me your politics, I will happily interact with you. But if you want to do the other two, then go away.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So with that, we thank each and every one of you. We will be back on, I guess, maybe Sunday, according to Ian. It is a 5 o'clock start.
It's preseason for everyone. We gotta get our fucking game faces on. We gotta do our training camp too.
Yes, that's right.
We'll see.
Get our cliches in. Get our
cliches in.
Practice on our ad libs.
We gotta let you know how many pucks in deep there were. And... yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Time's up, game on.
It's 5 p.m. out here, 8 p.m. out there.
Glorious. Yeah, we're doing it. It's a thing we're doing.
All right, sounds good. We'll get that all situated. So we will be. So now I can say with confidence, we will be back with you on Sunday, following Sharks and Golden Knights for the first preseason game of the year. Maybe I'll have to figure out how to do the show from there if you don't get anybody. That'll be fun. So
what have I done? I'm gonna end up doing this by myself. Oh, damn it.
So we thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Here we go again, gang. The 33rd season of the San Jose Sharks is about to get underway, and we'll be happy to be with you all the way through the bitter end. But be on the lookout on our social channels. We've got something cooking up for tomorrow. So until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you Sunday following Sharks and Golden Knights, the preseason opener. And we will only blame Ian for it. All right, no kidding. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for watching.